What's going on, guys? So with the release of my Is Range Worth It video, which you may have seen, I got a few requests for some DPS rotations for best in slot range gear, basically the Bow of the Last Guardian and the Dracolich armor. So in this video, I am going to be going over a pretty in-depth full manual rotation as well as a very strong Revo rotation that you can use. The Revolution rotation, I would highly suggest manually casting the bolg spec just to get the most out of the weapon, but I guess you don't have to do that. But yeah, hopefully you guys use these rotations to get some pretty fast times at some bosses if you have this gear. Also, can we talk about how good this area looks? I mean, look at this place. Wow, though. So for this video, I'm gonna be picking up a bond to get rune metrics. It's really unfortunate that this isn't just built into like Premier membership, but scammed. Okay, well, it didn't buy. How much is a bond right now? It's like 100 mil. What is this? So you can see on screen here is the Revolution bar that I am using. If you can also see here at the bottom of my interface. Basically, the way that I use this bar is you can see there's two spaces here at the end of the bar, and what I do with those is I simply just move Incendiary Shot and Death Swiftness outside of the bar for whenever I want to do something where you have to manually be casting these abilities. There are definitely some bosses that I would highly suggest manually casting these, just so you don't accidentally screw up your rotation. But yeah, you can easily have it set up just like this. Incendiary Shot first, so you can be, you know, fully, I guess, revoing. Another thing is, I would highly suggest manually casting, like I said, the Bow of the Last Guardian spec, as well as a Dark Bow special attack. It's really highly suggested to do that. You can get the most out of this rotation for, you know, 2 clicks, but you don't have to do that, I guess. But again, I would highly suggest at least doing the Bow of the Last Guardian. I would highly suggest using full arrows for this, or maybe big arrows for bosses that it works on. And then you don't have to do any other like switching. You don't have to use any death spores or anything like that. And I have found that this bar is capable of getting probably about 350, maybe up to 375,000 damage per minute average. But I have seen it if I do get really good critical strikes or something like that, or I'm using a full book and it activates at a good time and I get, you know, some manual dark bows off. I have seen this bar hitting up to 450,000 damage per minute, which is pretty strong. All right, so just to show this action bar in action here, you can see I am going to be attacking the dummy. I'm not going to use a Grim for this one. Maybe I'll do a second one with like a Grim and a calc active, but yeah, I don't have a Grim here. And this is generally what the bar will look like. And before I go over this, I do want to talk about the sacrifice ability here. The way that range is designed, none of the basic abilities have a long enough cooldown to be worth using. You need an ability with a 30-second cooldown right here, or longer. Like honestly, like a 45-second cooldown would be the best, but this is the best we get. And it's just, the reason we use this is because Incendiary Shot has a little bit of a delay before it can start gaining the crit buff. And we want to be getting greater ricochet with that crit buff. So we do have to use like a random ability in between. And like I said, we want something with a long cooldown, and this is like all we get. So this is what it'll look like here. Turn on your prayer. You can see we incendiary right away, and then we use that sacrifice, and then Rico, and then we use a rapid fire here. Ideally, rapid fire gets you to 100% before you have to waste that snapshot, but you can see we didn't actually get very good critical strikes. And then we got all of the critical strikes there apparently on that ricochet. And then I'd just like to Bow of the Last Guardian some point after you death swiftness, like as early as possible really. But just Bow of the Last Guardian at some point then. You can see I'm at 100% adrenaline now, so I'm just gonna dark bow. Like I said, you don't have to do that, but it does definitely help improve your DPS if you're paying attention. You definitely don't have to though. But yeah, we pretty much just continue to use this bar, and it gets pretty solid damage output. As you can see, we're up to like 390 on the little tracker up there. And yeah, it can get up to like 400,000, maybe like 450,000 if you really started popping off of the dark bows. But yeah, about 400,000. Anywhere from 350 to 400,000 is probably what you're gonna get. And yeah, definitely a pretty strong Revo bar. Alright guys, so you can see I have the scripture of full here. I just tested the Grim and it really didn't seem that much better. It's certainly not good enough to be worth 6 mil an hour to use. So I think the full book is probably the best book you could use for this rotation. So we're gonna test it out here with the full book and see what kind of DPM output we can get. And we did get an insta proc with this, which is pretty lucky, but it doesn't look like we're gonna get a rapid fire into Death Swiftness, so it's not like super amazing or anything. It is pretty unfortunate that we don't always get that Death Swiftness, but it is what it is. So you can see here, we are going to use the bolg spec, and then we're going to apparently not get any adrenaline with that, and use rapid fire. So after we use rapid fire, I like to use the dark bow right after this because you do get the crit buff and you just hit absolutely insane. Yeah, as you can see, our damage output is 410,000, which is pretty decent. This isn't even the greatest rotation. It definitely probably could be better than this, but we will just use one more dark bow here right after this rapid fire to finish out the rotation. And as you can see, we did get up to 430,000 there right at the end. And yeah, this Revo bar is definitely incredibly powerful. Alright, so now I am going to be going over my full manual rotation. This rotation can get some pretty insane damage output. So this is kind of what it will look like. So I'm gonna go get to 100% over here. And basically what you want to do when you start out here is have your Death Spores and your Eldritch Crossbow EOF equipped. And what ends up happening is we build up to 5 stacks on the dummy. If your Jericho doesn't get 5 stacks, I like to use the bolg spec right after that, just so you can get the Bow of the Last Guardian spec up before you go into your Incendiary and Death Swiftness, because using it right at the beginning of the Death Swiftness kind of sucks. The adrenaline isn't quite there sometimes, so I like to get it up beforehand. And then basically what we're going to be doing is as soon as you Death Swiftness, as soon as you get the 5 Death Spores, you're going to use Incendiary Shot. And then you're going to use Death Swiftness, switch your arrows and a Dren Pot, and then you're immediately going to use an Eldritch spec, and then switch to Saren Godbow EOF and use a Saren Godbow spec, and then try to like Jericho and Rapid Fire, and then double Dark Bow. And then you're probably going to be able to like Snapshot or something, and then re-Eldritch, re-Bow of the Last Guardian, and then kind of just work your way up back to another Rapid Fire, and then you Rapid Fire, and then use a Dark Bow, and then a Saren Godbow again. You should be able to get 2 Saren Godbows in your Death Swiftness, as well as at least 3 Dark Bows. So that should be the ideal rotation. It's kind of hard to pull off, especially if you're not very practiced with it. But you are also going to absolutely need the Grimoire and Calgarian for this. So this is what it will look like. So make sure you have Soul Split on. And then we just build up to 5 stacks here. Like I said, I'm gonna just build up to like 4 stacks or 3 stacks here and bolg spec. So now I'm gonna build up back to 100-ish%, 110% here, and then Incendiary Shot, Death Swiftness, a Dren Pot, Eldritch spec. We're gonna Jericho here since we didn't get the adrenaline, and then we Saren Godbow and Rapid Fire. Get ready to Dark Bow here. So now we Dark Bow, and then Dark Bow again, and then we Ricochet, re-Eldritch, re-Bow of the Last Guardian, use whatever for adrenaline, probably Piercing Shot, and then we could Snapshot here as you can see, and then just build back up to a Rapid Fire. So now we're going to Rapid Fire, get ready to Dark Bow again. So we Dark Bow, and then we should be able to Saren Godbow here, one more ability, Saren Godbow, and then just whatever. And as you can see, that did get us up to a 500,000 damage output on the tracker. And again, that's with the Saren Godbows not really hitting because it's only a 1x1 tile. So obviously you're going to be getting quite a bit more damage output on the tracker if you're on a big boss. So yeah, that's basically what the range rotation, the full manual rotation will look like. I will have a little notepad on the screen while I do this for you to follow along with, hopefully. But yeah, there are a lot of like technicalities with this rotation. Like if you get really good critical strikes or something, you could potentially get more Dark Bows in But that was what you just saw there was pretty much the most standard rotation. And like I said, I think it's really important to be getting the bolg spec in before you do the death swiftness and stuff, just simply because it's not worth using at the beginning of your death swiftness, and you absolutely want it up. I mean, the bolg spec is absolutely crazy. So yeah, so I'm just gonna do that again here, just to show what it looks like. So like I said, start with your death spores and eldritch crossbow EOFs on, and then I just get up to 5 stacks here, bolg spec, and then keep building up to 5 stacks. Hopefully you get some critical strikes better than me here. No? Well, pretty unlucky I suppose, but Incendiary Shot, Death Swiftness A-Pot, switch your quiver, Eldritch spec, G-Rico, Saren spec, Rapid Fire, and then get ready to double Dark Bow. Dark Bow, Dark Bow, then you should be able to Ricochet here, re-Eldritch. You can see we got a Limitless, so we're going to Dark Bow again, and then Snapshot, and then just build up to whatever here. And then we're going to Rapid Fire again. Oh, I forgot the bolg spec. That'll be interesting. So after this, I'm gonna bolg, and then just use another Dark Bow, Ricochet, and you can see we're up to 500,000 even without the second Saren Godbow spec here. As you can see, it only hits 1 time on these, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, even though I kind of flubbed that rotation a little bit, it still went up to 500,000 damage output. So yeah, as you can see, this is a very, very strong rotation, and especially against targets where the Saren Godbow can hit. Like I said, we're getting 2 Saren Godbow specs in 1 death swiftness, and you know, you're just gonna absolutely melt anything that touches. So yeah, hopefully you guys spend a little bit of time practicing this rotation and melt some bosses. Alright, so now I'm going to be going over a few small things you can do to improve your DPS. These are like kind of just like micromanaging and things like that to be getting increased damage output. So the first thing that I'm going to go over here is you can actually IOH Smoke Cloud as you release an EOF spec. Even with off style, like you can do it losslessly off style. And this is kind of what that looks like. So basically what we do here is IOH, like get it ready beforehand so you don't have to do it all in the same tick. But you know, click your Ingenuity, and then what you do is you target cycle and Smoke Cloud, and then after you click that, but in the same tick, you SGB spec out of your EOF. And this is kind of what that looks like. So you can see Ingenuity, and then target cycle Smoke Cloud, and then we use the SGB. And you can see it does apply the buff. You can see it in my chat box as well. That's a good way to losslessly cast your Smoke Cloud and be, you know, obviously getting damage immediately as soon as possible. You can do this with the Rakshakil that I showed. It's a good way to just instantly apply Smoke Cloud for basically free without any time being wasted or having to like switch to a wand or anything like that. So that can be really useful for starting boss fights. And then the other thing I want to go over here is you can see Death Spore arrows, and I do have these Wen arrows in my inventory here. You can actually get both of these at the exact same time. So basically, I think the way that this works is when you cast G-Rico, you get the stacks for Wen stacks, but you don't get the Death Spore stacks until the hits actually connect to the boss, which is 1 tick later. And basically what you can do here is if you switch to Death Spore arrows the same tick that you cast G-Rico, you can double dip into the stacks and build Wen stacks while you also build Death Spore stacks, which can be incredibly powerful after you rapid fire because you have such a high critical strike chance that, you know, Greater Ricochet is almost guaranteed to get like all 5 Death Spore stacks. And basically, if you're like super into micromanaging your DPS and getting a little bit more damage out of like Wen arrows, you can get both of those stacks at the same time. This is what that looks like. You can see in my buff bar, we do not have any stacks yet, and I have the Wen arrows equipped. And then what I'm going to do here is the same tick that I cast Greater Ricochet, I am going to switch to my Death Spore arrows, and hopefully we get a critical strike and you will be able to see both stacks appear in the buff bar here. So I'm gonna target this dummy, and this is what that looks like. So Greater Rico and switch at the same time. And as you can see, we did get 1 Death Spore stack and then 7 of these Icy Chill stacks. So as you can see, you can get both of those stacks at the same time. And the main place that that is going to be useful is when you do a rapid fire, and then you are going to be going into a late incendiary shot. Basically, if you're using like an off-style buff for the beginning half of your death swiftness, and then like in the middle of your death swiftness, you want to get a free incendiary shot, but you want to also be upkeeping your damage output. You can rapid fire, you know, do your double dark bow, and then you can equip your Wen arrows, greater ricochet, and switch at the same time to the death spores. And then because you have that extremely high boost to your critical strike chance, you basically are going to be getting your 5 death spore stacks for free, as well as the Wen arrow stacks. And then you can incendiary shot, switch back to the Wen arrows, and then like do something else like snapshot. But that's basically where you would really start applying this tactic. And it can get you some, you know, essentially just some free extra damage for putting in a little bit more effort and knowing what you're doing. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you guys use these rotations. I think the Revo bar is pretty solid. It definitely, if you can get the death swiftness right after the incendiary shot or something like that before you use rapid fire, it can pump out some serious damage. It has honestly surprised me how good that bar was. For reference, I used the manual cast incendiary and death swiftness version of that bar at Zamrock 100%, and I was able to get a kill with only using the Bow of the Last Guardian special attack as the like only other manual input I had to do, where everything else I just revoed. So the bar is definitely capable of doing some bosses. So yeah, let me know if you guys like these bars and these types of videos in the comments below, and if you made it this far, definitely drop a like on the video. Really helps promote the channel. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.